Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Brightin Star 50mm 1.4 autofocus is the hero of the day, so we will start to talk about build quality, optical quality, and everything you can expect from a real life review of that lens. So it is not sponsored. Brightin Star have sent me this lens and I can stay with that lens and I'm very happy about it, but there's no money involved here, so it's an honest opinion directly from me. This is an APS-C 50mm lens, so it stands for around 75mm on full frame. What we have here, we have autofocus system, and in the box, beautifully packaged, we find this lens hood. We find the lens itself, of course, the back cap. On the back side, there's no weather sealing. There's USB-C port for future firmware upgrades. There's this focus ring that is a little bit too tight in my opinion, but it's quite okay. The filter thread is 58mm. Everything is very well built. It is not too heavy, but quite heavy that it feels substantial. It feels nice. It is like very solid lens. So first, let's talk about sharpness. And this lens is sharp. And I gotta say that like straight ahead. This lens is sharp. So if you are looking for a 50mm sharp lens, this is your lens. We will talk about some flaws of this lens later, but sharpness is really good. There is a little drop of sharpness in the corner, which you would expect at 1.4, but really small. So like optically, it is a very good lens. There's also no pincushion or barrel, of course, distortion, but pincushion distortion here. So distortion is very well corrected. So optically, very good lens. Now let's talk about chromatic aberration. Chromatic aberration is also very low, so far this lens performs almost perfect. I mean, chromatic aberration, if you take a very close look, you can see maybe a little bit of blue fringing, but really almost nothing there. Bokeh is pretty nice. There's a cat effect close to the corner. It's more roundish, closer to the center. You can see a little bit of like mechanical shape. This lens gives a little bit of a retro look to bokeh, which is in my taste a very good thing, but some may like it, some may not. But there's not much like going on, like there's no like like intensity in this bokeh, so that's good. And when you take a look at real life examples, then you will see that out of focus parts of image look very nice, very soft, and do give you this little bit of retro feel, but that's something I personally like. Now let's talk about Star. Stars are okay, and now we are getting to some little problems of that lens. It doesn't perform very good against harsh light. So stars, the shape is nice, but you can see that there's a little bit of smudging here and there. So that's something you want to remember about. And generally, it's recommended to use this lens hood when using this lens against harsh light. This goes for most of the lenses actually, even like the 50mm 1.2 Sony lens that I'm using, that is like extremely professional lens. I still use lens hood on that lens because like most of lenses struggle against harsh light. So it doesn't mean it's something dramatic, but as you can see on portraits here, you can lose quite a lot of contrast. So if there's a direct sunlight hitting the front glass, that's not recommended. So that's where this lens struggles a little bit, so you can have this drop of contrast. At the other hand, there's a lot of use for that case. In general, when it comes to portrait work, it performs very well because it's a sharp lens, and the autofocus I didn't mention also works pretty nice. The only little flaw of autofocus that I noticed, but that's just a little thing, is that it has this tendency against the harsh light, against strong light, to hunt just a little bit, and in this specific scenario against the light where a lot of against strong light when a lot of lenses are struggling. Another category that is very important to me is close-up. You can get really close to the objects with this lens, so I have tested this close-up images. It's of course not a macro lens, but it is you can come pretty close and have pretty shallow depth of field, and in the center of the image you can see that the sharpness is again very good. So like very good performance when it comes to sharpness, no doubt about it. Of course, drop in corners. If you stop it down to something like 2.2, 2.8, the image quality at 2.8 becomes practically perfect. The last category in this review I want to talk about is breathing, focus breathing, not breathing, but breathing. And focus breathing is visible, breathing is visible, but definitely it can be used in a video work without any problems. I've seen really worse focus breathing on some very professional lenses, so this lens performs very well. So it will be a good use both for videographers, photographers, those who are looking for a good portrait lens, because definitely portraits out of this lens look very good. Now overall, I had a lot of fun, and the images you can produce with this lens are fantastic. Specifically, this sharpness is something that I liked a lot, and you can see this. You can take a look at the samples all the time here. And I decided to use it not only in the portrait situations, but despite this focal length, I decided to use it in more of a landscape work, because we went for a trip with this lens to western Portugal, where I live in southern Portugal, but to the west, which is very wild, very beautiful. And if you haven't been there, definitely you have to visit. And you can see that this lens perform. Be careful with working against very strong light. That is the flaw of this lens. But in other categories it performs exceptionally well, so it comes highly recommended, specifically taking into consideration its price, size, weight. It's just a good purchase. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave thumbs up, comments below, subscribe, and I see you guys in the next one. Cheers.